fantasy followers. My name is Derek, host, one half of the host of the Fantasy Flyer. Welcome to episode 36. As always, with me is Taylor. Taylor, what's going on, my dog?
What is good? We got our first week of the playoffs.
It's playoff time, baby. So our fantasy side is weeping a little bit because there is no more fantasy to do other than the DFS and the parlays, which is fine. Fine by me. I do it more often than you do. But the real juicy tender part, the crunch time is here. The
Yeah,
actual fantasy or the actual football playoffs.
this
I
is when
have to.
the real football happens. This is when I don't need to, or I don't need to. This is when I watch games and I don't feel upset that certain players aren't doing things. I just get to enjoy the game.
Yeah, that is the plus side of this is you don't have to. You're not so much into players as you are during the our fantasy league or any
Right.
other fantasy league that you may be having, which is a plus side. You actually get to enjoy the game a little bit more. And we're gonna wish all of that to you. This will be our only show of the week. This is going to be going up some point Thursday afternoon, which gives you plenty of time to watch it before the game kicks off on Saturday. We'll go over those a little bit later. As always, if you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like, share it on your Facebook, share it on your socials. We much appreciate it. Give it to a listen. Give us a listen on Apple Podcasts. Man, off to a rough start already. Um, Taylor, Mr. Nine, we have a playoff nine and a coaching nine more than anything else. It's a little bit more of the notes side than there is
Yeah.
injuries because we're down to 14 teams instead of 32. But go ahead and take it away with our slightly abbreviated nine.
Yeah. Focusing just on notable players as we go into the playoffs here, and yeah, some of the more interesting bits of news and notes. So kicking it off with Arizona, Cliff Kingsbury fired, so they will be interviewing new coaches or promoting from within.
Bye. Have a great time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not a great fit, obviously. I feel like Kingsbury is an okay coach, and he should definitely get a job elsewhere, but just obviously did not work out very well. Did you say, was it Arizona that has gotten permission to interview with Sean Payton
Both Arizona and Houston.
in Houston? Okay.
Houston, which I mean, we're not going to talk about them so much because
Yeah.
they need to find their own little home. I don't know where they're going to get a coach. I don't know who looks at that and goes, "Yeah, it's perfect for me." Um, but yeah, they both have requested, and but at least the Cardinals, I think, have gotten permission to speak with him. They can't do anything until January
Is this
17th,
17th? Yeah. Um, yeah, that's what, next Friday? Um,
next Tuesday.
no, next Tuesday, you're right. Yeah. So, yeah. And then I also saw that Carolina was talking with Frank Reich, which I don't know.
Yes.
Don't do it. Anyways.
I thought that, but then I'm like, honestly, they should stick with Steve Wilkes. He's done a really good job.
Exactly,
Granted,
yeah.
granted, Sam Darnold has stepped up a lot, but Steve Wilkes did a really good job in the time he was there. So yeah, I don't understand why they're considering someone other than Steve Wilkes. The players in Carolina, from what we have read, they like Steve Wilkes and what he's done. He's not
Yeah.
as I won't say bad because bad's not, but he's not as I guess strict.
Mm,
I don't know if that's the right word that you can use, but they enjoy what he does with the team. So I don't know. That's up to Carolina. It's their prerogative. They haven't done
yeah.
things right in a while, so
Yeah, we'll see how they go about that. And then the other bit of news with Arizona is that they are potentially looking to trade DeAndre Hopkins. I won't go too much into that. That is what it is. He's a aging player, still talented, obviously. There were some injury concerns throughout the season a bit, but when he was out there, he was great, and he's a fine fit with Kyler. But yeah, I don't know. They have enough weapons if they want to move on from him. Um,
I'm going to tell you right now because he has 2 years and 24 million left in his contract.
mhm.
I see them getting any sort of pick. I mean, for he's 30 years old. He'll be 31 when they kick off in 2023. Get what you can for him, but you should be
Mhm.
looking for like I would think a third or a fourth rounder for him and draft a wide receiver that can play behind Rondale Moore and Hollywood Brown.
Right. Yeah,
And
Hollywood
then,
showed that he was fine as the alpha.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's my
Um,
opinion on it.
yeah, and whether or not they do it, the Patriots are always a team that's looking for a senior guy like this that can just get him to the playoffs for a season or something. But I mean, there's plenty of other teams out there that might be looking to do that.
Patriots, Bears, Giants, top
Yeah.
three from what early reports say.
Yeah, so we'll see what they do next year without him if that's the case. Baltimore, since they are in the playoffs, Huntley is questionable, was limited in practice on Wednesday. Lamar Jackson, still questionable, didn't practice Wednesday. Not trending in the right direction. We've read things here and there that he probably won't play, so that's not great for the playoffs for them, but is what it is. Can't, you know, someone's hurt, you're not gonna put him out there. Um,
I mean,
and
if
then
he's anything close to go, they need to. You saw how
yeah,
bad they played it this past weekend against the same team.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it is a knee injury, unfortunately, so we'll see what happens. And then Gus Edwards with a concussion didn't practice Wednesday and is questionable. I mean, what we've seen so far after the new protocols were put in place is it's not likely that he will play. Um, Houston, as we sort of alluded to, Lovie Smith was fired literally like the night of the game or whatever after they won.
They took our job. They took our job. They
Yeah.
took your job. They took your job.
I mean, I don't know if it was kind of a FU to the organization with that win or what, but that win dropped them back to the second pick, and now Chicago has the first pick.
I don't think that should matter a whole hell of a lot. I
No, it
really
doesn't.
don't.
Yeah.
I really don't. People on have there's I've seen some crazy cockamamie things that people have said that make no sense between Twitter and all that. Like, oh well, they know that Chicago said that they're gonna keep Justin Fields unless something amazing them want to trade him. And well, that means that people if they just want a quarterback, they're just gonna trade up to the one. And I'm like, you're splitting hairs, number one. Two, who's assuming that the Bears trade that first overall pick anyway? Because there's still a great edge rusher who, so,
Hmm.
shocker, they need that hole filled since they traded Roquan Smith. They need that edge rusher. So take Will Anderson at the one if you have to. Fine. Let the quarterback go. There's no point in taking a quarterback. We know that.
Right.
But I don't know if they're going to ship out that first round pick for pennies on the dollar just because somebody wants a quarterback. They know what they can get.
Yeah, I mean, unless they can get a haul, I agree. And even, yeah, Houston needs a quarterback desperately. So if best case scenario, Chicago sticks with that pick and they can get whichever quarterback they want to go with. I mean, they also need a lot of other pieces. So whether or not they wait on a quarterback, who knows? But worst case scenario, Chicago trades it, somebody gets the quarterback, and they have to now rule out one guy. But there's
Right. Like,
plenty of
oh no, I got CJ Stroud instead
yeah,
of Bryce Young.
exactly.
Honestly, you know who that hurts? The Colts.
Right.
The Colts at 4. Because if you have two spots to trade up ahead of them to get a quarterback, Texans aren't trading down. They're going to take quarterback there.
Hmm.
If somebody trades up to take one, I mean, the Cardinals are third. They're not taking quarterback, but there's two trade candidates there. The Colts can actually hurt by that. Somebody takes Will Levis at 3 instead of 4, and then they're stuck with, oh, well, now we had our eyes set on one of those two guys or one of those three guys, and
Yeah.
long shot there though. Long
Right.
shot.
Yeah. So is what it is, and yeah, I agree. It's not that huge of an impact, that one spot. The Rams, McVay rumored to be stepping away. I mean, honestly, for him, like he won a Super Bowl. Unfortunately, he had a pretty crappy year, but there's still a lot of, good vibes around him as a coach. So if he steps away and wants to come back at some point, he could get a head coach job, I would imagine, at pretty much anywhere that needs one, whenever he decides to come back. But there's been rumors of him potentially signing with Amazon as an analyst. So yeah, he I don't know when. Basically, I heard something along that with Amazon and him trying to make up his mind relatively soonish. I don't know what the timeline is there, but anyways, yeah,
If it's less work and he makes anything close to the money he was making with the
right,
Rams, I think it's a pretty open shut because they're gonna,
yeah,
if they are even close to the season they just had next year, he's gonna be in a hell of a lot of trouble anyway.
right, yeah. I mean, as we've seen with like Sean Payton, being the head coach is an incredibly demanding job, and unfortunately can affect people's family and outside lives. Miami. Tua, with his concussion, has been ruled out, which is very unfortunate for, I mean, they're playing the Bills, so not great odds, but this does not help that. Teddy Bridgewater with his knee and right finger injuries is questionable and practiced in limited capacity. Raheem Mostert with a thumb injury, questionable, didn't practice Wednesday. Jalen Waddle, ankle injury, questionable, was limited Wednesday. San Francisco, Christian McCaffrey with a knee injury, questionable, limited Wednesday. He's had this injury or this designation over at least the last week, if not last couple of weeks. So they've been sort of, taking it easy with him. I don't see this ruling. I don't see this having him come out of or not playing in this game. Um, that being said, they have plenty of weapons. Not that the Seahawks can't potentially keep up with them, but maybe he doesn't go ham as he has. But considering the fact that he has been playing with this injury, I don't necessarily see it changing things too much. And then speaking of the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker with an ankle injury is questionable and didn't practice Wednesday. Noah Fant with a knee injury, questionable, was limited Wednesday. That is it.
Okay, that is it for the 9.
Backs are taking our jobs. They take our jobs.
It's that time of the year where people take people's jobs.
Yeah.
Really good 9. We're gonna jump right into the week 18 review. There's only about 5 games we're gonna review. We're gonna give you the scores for the rest of them, which you could easily have looked up on an app and probably have, and that's about as important as they were, as you should have known the outcome, and that's about it. Moving along. We'll start off with the Jaguars and the Titans, the Saturday night football game. Hell of a matchup. I want to say I saw it coming, but I also want to say how they got there is not at all, because the Jaguars didn't look good.
Mm,
They didn't. This wasn't the most impressive of outings for the offense. Was it
right.
bad? No. Wasn't atrocious. But I would have expected a little bit more. I don't know, oomph, I guess is the word. Um, the Titans are going to tighten. They're going to do what they do. Uh, Lost 8 in a row to go from first by a mile
Yeah.
to not in the playoffs. They gave the game away. I mean, Josh Dobbs is honestly, I saw more in him out of these last 2 games than I saw out of either of the other quarterbacks most of the season. But man, bad interception, and it cost them. Referees didn't help. I don't think I think the fumble was not a fumble.
Oh, I didn't see that. I mean, it looks like he had 2 fumbles.
Oh, excuse me, that was the fumble. That's right. It was the fumble that ended up being the touchdown for Josh Allen. Excuse me, it wasn't an interception.
Okay.
So, but I don't think it looked like his arm. I don't know what they were watching. It looked like his arm was starting to move and the ball was in his grasp, and then it wasn't. There's a mic there. But it looked to me like his hand was coming forward, and I'm watching it. I watched the replay 3, 4, 5 times. I'm watching it live, and I'm like, it's in his grip, and his arm, his hand, everything's coming forward, and then he loses it. And they're like, no, it's a fumble. Okay. They're like, well, he didn't have possession. He didn't have possession as before he started moves. I'm like, well, it looks like he did. So I don't know, like it's in the palm of his hand.
Mm,
Like it's fitting into his hand. I don't know how you can say he doesn't have possession. Anyway, Tennessee's offense had other opportunities. They were too patient, in my opinion. it looks like they have better weapons when Josh Dobbs plays. It just looks like they
He
have more
definitely
spark.
spreads it more.
Yeah. And just to see Robert Woods be impactful and Treylon Burks be impactful and Chigo Okonkwo be impactful.
He's
Usually you
someone to
get
look
like
at next year.
he is, and
Okonkwo.
that's something unless they go after a tight end, your answer is going to be in what they do between now and the end of April
Mm,
as to whether he is going to be their tight end one. I don't think Austin Hooper is on that team, and if he is, or maybe Jeff Swaim, one of the two is probably gone.
mhm.
But yeah, that offense was not. Derrick Henry was good for a little bit, and then 109 yards on 30 carries for Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
Like, what did we talk about in the previous shows? Like, if they know you're going to run it, how effective can it be?
right.
Um, Trevor Lawrence again didn't really play at the playoff capacity. Missed opportunities. He overthrew receivers several times on wide open plays. Zay Jones in the back of the end zone. I'm looking at that play. Wide open, had nobody within 15 feet of him. 20-yard pass, overthrew him by like 5 yards. Not good. You could have literally put it 5 yards short and he would have caught it probably.
Yeah.
That would have been it, but you put it in almost in the stands. It was bad. I don't think this if this is a one-off, and I hope it is for the Jaguars, then maybe they can stick around in the playoffs. This Chargers offense isn't one that you can kind of play around with. I mean, they played bad against the Broncos. They lost 28-31 to the Broncos, and they scored 28 points. Like that was a basically a bad offensive performance. Um, maybe not bad, but below average.
Mm,
And I think it's not promising going forward. They can't do that against the Chargers. Good to see Christian Kirk get involved. He had 99 yards, 8 targets, 6 catches, and a touchdown. But very little else was really impressive from Jacksonville. Bit of a letdown game in terms of win and you're in. The drama was good. The 6 points that Josh Allen provided, with or without good replay. Good replay eyes from the referees, I guess. I didn't like that. I'm just gonna keep saying that because I don't think that should have been the dictator of the game, and it was. But Jaguars snuck out with it, 20-16. If you look at the season in total, the right team won,
mhm.
especially the last like 5-6 weeks.
Yeah.
But Lawrence 20 for 32, 212 yards and a touchdown. Evan Ingram's 4 targets, caught all 4 of them for 27. Travis Etienne fell asleep at the wheel. 17 yards rushing on 7 carries, had 17 yards receiving on 2 receptions. Tennessee's number 2 against running backs, so not a surprise. For Tennessee, Josh Dobbs 20 for 29, 179 yards, touchdown, an interception, had the 2 fumbles, like you said. Chigo Okonkwo, 3 catches on 4 targets, 42 yards and a touchdown. Robert Woods, 5 targets, 4 catches, 40 yards. Austin Hooper had 38 receiving yards. It's interesting they started to break out the tight ends now, at the end of the season, but
Mhm.
it is literally the end of the season for them. Anything else you want to note from this game?
No, not really. I think you brought up a good point about Dobbs. Like, yeah, Tannehill. I mean, he had more games to show what he has. He had other seasons. Probably the better quarterback overall, but Dobbs showing that he's not too far off. I mean, minus the fumble and the interception, he moved the offense almost the same as Tannehill.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I am kind of interested to see who the top 5 passing games of the year were. Because I know number 1 is Tannehill. He had like a 300 and some yard game, but like this is 179 for Dobbs. He had 200 and some against the Cowboys. It was just over 200, I think.
Something like
200.
that, yeah.
So he couldn't be too far out of the top 5, and he only played 2 games. So next game we'll talk about Seahawks and Rams. Seahawks squeak away with this one, 19-16. I mean, they were clutch when they needed to be, but they trailed for most of this game. It was actually 16-13 with like a few minutes to go in the fourth,
Mm.
and it came down to 2 field goals. Rams kept with this one. They relied heavily on their red zone defense, which is good. Geno Smith, knock knock, wake up. You can't be doing that. You
Mhm.
can't be doing that. There's 2 turnovers committed by Seattle with both of the interceptions from Geno Smith. Not playoff Geno. We can talk about this as far as two quarterbacks in these two games who they won, but go ahead and do this next weekend because I don't think it's going to turn out very well against the Chargers, and in this case, the 49ers.
Yeah.
Who Geno will play. I do not think you're not going to get away with two interceptions next week unless you get them back, which could happen more with Brock Purdy than I think with Justin Herbert. But the completion percentage, trust in it, go back to it, find a way to do it. They got to be more thorough. I mean, just in general, what Geno does in his pocket presence, his accuracy. Baker wasn't amazing either, which just kind of tells you when he's not amazing, and then the Seahawks have to force overtime. Kind of tells you where everything kind of lied with this game. Both running backs ran the lights out. Good point for both Cam Akers and Kenneth Walker, two very good young running backs. Good field vision too. Both had over 100 yards. Akers 21 carries, 104 yards. Kenneth Walker 29 carries, 114 yards. Seattle had 402 total yards, but were 0 for 4 in the red zone. Won't get it done. Rams had 269 total yards. They were 1 for 2 in the red zone. Oh, imagine that. Mayfield 13 for 26, 147 yards, 1 interception. Van Jefferson had 3 catches and 7 targets for 61 yards. Tyler Higbee had 4 catches. The offense for the Rams we know this isn't about the Rams. They've been so far out. It's not even funny. But Seattle, Geno was 19 for 31, 213 yards, the touchdown, 2 interceptions. That touchdown went to Tyler Lockett, who had 54 yards on 4 catches, 7 targets. DK Metcalf had 3 catches on 8 targets for 40 yards. No one else had more than 17 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Ballpark of that one. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong team.
Rushing for Rams, yeah.
No. Who had this? No, the Colby Parkinson had a second amount of yards. He had 40 some, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you said 17 though, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the wrong team. I'm thinking of the Jets, which we'll talk about them and their sadness later.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Rams was beyond Cam Akers. Baker Mayfield, Powell, Tutu Atwell, 16, 15, 11 rushing yards.
I'm thinking about the Jets.
Okay.
So,
yeah, that was the only stat that fit what you were saying.
Yeah.
At least for this game.
Yep, you're right. That's what happens with that is all about it. Yeah, best of luck against San Francisco doing that next week.
Yeah, really.
This week, I should say. Next game, Packers and Lions. Another game where the quarterback don't perform. The only difference is your penalty doesn't come this week; it comes immediately. I mean, really, neither team was amazing here either. It was a good neck and neck game. Both defenses, when they needed to for the first half, it was a field goal matchup until halftime. I think it was 9-6 or something, or 6-6 something at halftime.
Yeah, 9-6.
Yeah. Ugly. At the end of the day, the Packers fumbled the bag. I mean, there's no better way to. It was not. I mean, between all the field goals in the first half, and then you have some failed attempts to get in there, it took long enough for them to find either team to find a touchdown. Jamal Williams was the first one for the Lions. He had the first touchdown of the game. Alan Lazard ended up catching one later on, and then Jamal Williams got a second touchdown. I think there's going to be some teams very interested in him now that he's a free agent. Detroit's defense was very solid. The turnover battle, not batter, no kicks. Had more first downs, 21-17 over Green Bay. Both teams were 4 for 12 on third down. Like I said, defense is stepping for the most part when you need to. Very evenly matched based on the team stats. And I think in the eye test, it kind of seemed that way too. And obviously the score, it reflected all the way across. But the Jamal Williams touchdowns seemed to be the difference. The Lions they weren't even in the playoffs by the time they played this game.
Right.
With Seattle winning, Detroit was out. And Seattle's game ended at 7:30. This game kicked off at 8:20. So they just wanted to play spoiler and it worked. So
yeah,
It just took long enough for one of them to find the end zone. It was just,
Touchdown.
there you go. The wheel spinning and then touchdown. There it is. Aaron Rodgers, 17 for 27, 205 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Aaron Jones, 48 yards on the ground, 12 carries, had 3 catches for 20 yards. Christian Watson, 5 catches on 6 targets, 104 yards. When you have 53% of the yards, that's probably someone you should keep an eye on going into next year, assuming Rodgers comes back. Alan Lazard, 4 catches on 6 targets, 41 yards, and a touchdown. For Detroit, Jared Goff, 23 for 34, 224 yards. Jamal Williams had 72 yards for the 2 touchdowns. DeAndre Swift, 6 carries, 25 yards. Caught all 7 of his targets for 61 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6 catches on 9 targets, 49 yards. And I hope both of these teams enjoy the offseason. Anything else from you from this one?
It was fun to see Detroit actually come out and play this game. Obviously unfortunate for Packers fans, but Goff, good on you, man. You had a pretty decent season. And I think he proved himself enough that Detroit will not draft a quarterback at least this year.
No, they're ignorant. That's
Yeah.
ignorant.
You sure about that?
Weh.
Yeah, no, honestly, in all reality, he has caused some, at least in my eyes, I'm not Detroit's front office. They have a really good young wide receiver core, right? St. Brown, Jamison Williams, who's going to be up to speed by next year. You're going to have DeAndre Swift, and I mean, I can see them even taking another running back somewhere because it seems the 2-headed running back situation works for them. Or relying on their 3rd string, and I can't remember his name.
Jackson, Justin Jackson.
There's another one, Craig somebody.
Oh, Craig Reynolds, yeah.
Craig Reynolds. I'm like, he has the same name as someone else who's a wide receiver. Reynolds. Okay. You could see those two do that. The only spot on that offense that does shake me besides tight end is the quarterback. This has raised some questions in my mind. The first 5 weeks of the season, I was incredibly critical of him, and everybody was hyping him up, and I was like, oh, he's like the quarterback 12. Like, calm down. But he's done that all year now. Like,
yeah,
it's above where you probably expected him to be. It's above where I expected him to be.
he kind of pulled off Kirk Cousins season.
Yeah, yeah, and like I've said, there's been chatter of that being the result for your average. Like, that's your bar. If you're gonna make it, that's the bar. Because and it's not to knock Kirk Cousins, but just for the fact that that's where you produce at. That's where you are looked upon favorably from front office.
Yeah.
This does it for me to hit that bar. Like you said, a lot of 250 in 2 games. Even when he only had 1 touchdown or he threw an interception, the team was generally pretty good. And they ran a lot of touchdowns. Jamal Williams had, like, what, 16 this year? 15? Something stupid. After this game, he had a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see them not drafting a quarterback. I can see them going for, I think that tight end is their number 1 priority. I still am between Darnell Washington and Michael Mayer for that pick that they will take in the 1st round. I think that's the first thing they need to work on. I know their defense is still lacking too, but finish out the offense, because at least for the most part, it worked.
And yeah, to answer your question, Jamal Williams had 17 touchdowns this season.
That's juicy.
Yeah.
That's juicy. Next game, Dolphins 11, Jets 6. Oh boy. This was they wouldn't allow you to take a bet on FanDuel for under. I think the lowest that they would let you go is 19 points. And they wouldn't let you take a bet on it. And this game had 17 points in it. I just want to say that. So you had to go, like, this was not what I expected from Joe Flacco. This wasn't what I expected from Skylar Thompson and the Dolphins either. Two bad offenses got together and ran up and down the field for 60 minutes.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of good to say about the game, unfortunately. Game had zero. There was zero turnovers. No turnovers in this game. None. I'm not saying that that's a bar for it being low scoring or high scoring or anything else, but it tells you how much action there was. Also tells you how limited the mistakes were, really. I don't know how this game was so low scoring, besides the failures of both offenses. The Jets took the pass away from a team that wasn't playing their passing quarterback. And the rush game for Miami wasn't dependent upon enough, I guess. They averaged 5.1 yards per rush, the Dolphins did. At 160 some yards on the ground total, 162. There's just no offensive cohesion. I don't know why you keep trying to pat. I don't know. Both teams totaled for 18 first downs, and I think 2 of those were by penalty. Miami is lucky they still won here. The Jets could have, if Joe Flacco is better, they didn't throw the ball. That's the other thing. The Jets offense didn't throw the ball. They didn't throw the ball. This team, do you know who the leading rusher for the Jets was for 2022 to 23 NFL season?
Probably Brees Hall.
Yeah, he didn't play since October 23rd. He was their
Yeah.
leading rusher by 60 some yards. How? If you're not running the ball, then pass it. Stop trying to run it. Stop trying.
Yeah, I mean,
It's all I don't.
Flacco
Man.
barely got a 50% completion rate on 33 attempts. Yeah, it was.
That guy's ruining a perfectly good game of football.
It was
They really
ugly.
did. Yeah, I don't know. Flacco wasn't very accurate either. He threw it 33 times. He completed 18 of the 33, had 149 yards. There were no touchdowns in this game. In case you're curious, 6 field goals and a safety. Zonovan Knight, 12 carries, 22 yards. The one positive is the same positive it's been all year for the Jets, and that's Garrett Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
He had 17 of Flacco's 33 targets. Caught 9 of them for 89 yards. Corey Davis had 1 catch on 3 targets for 7. No one else other than Davis had 17 yards. No one else had more than 17. No one else. For Miami, Skylar Thompson. Oh, God. Best of luck running that back against the Bills. 20 for 31, 152 yards. Jeff Wilson Jr., 16 carries, 72 yards. The leading receiver was Mike Gesicki, 4 for 6, 46 yards. Jalen Waddle was 5 for 5 on targets, 44 yards. Tyreek Hill, or should we say Tyreek lost behind the hill because nobody could see him all day. 5 targets, 2 catches, 23 yards. I don't know if he just didn't want to play anymore or what happened. Like, I don't know. It wasn't good. Congrats to the Dolphins. They've postponed their exit for 1 week because Tua will not be playing this week. If this team is anywhere close to the Bills, then we have to seriously start backing the Bills off of a lock for the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is not the time to be making a game as close as this one for the Bills. So I'm gonna go with that's not gonna happen. Anything else you want to talk about this train wreck, or should we move on?
Move on.
Perfect. Love it.
Hey, Dolphin!
That's all I got from that one. Just matter of fact, actually, I kind of want to play it just one more time.
Hey, Dolphin!
There we go. Shout out to South Park. Last game we'll talk about Patriots and Bills. Patriots looked good in this one, actually. They did lose 23-35, but let's pump the brakes on this because without those 2 kickoff returns from Nyheim Hines, are the Patriots really losing this game? Probably not.
It was closer than I expected.
They seemed prepared. Right. They seemed very prepared for Buffalo in a lot of ways. The game was a good sign for New England going into the offseason. Unfortunately, the loss does eliminate them from the playoffs. But, I mean, if Mac can limit just one of his turnovers and those 2 kick returns don't happen, Bills lose this game. And the Bills wouldn't care if they lose the game because they were not going to move anywhere in the standings.
Right.
Win or loss, didn't matter. But New England would have had a lot. I mean, they played as well as they could have, other than the 2 special teams plays for the kickoffs. That's about it. It's still a mark of improvement for Mac He was 26 for 40, 243 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, which is the problem. Ramondre Stevenson, 54 yards on 6 carries, 6 targets, 5 catches, 28 yards. Shout out to Devontae Parker for completely eliminating Tyquan Thornton, who I was super high on when we built our DFS lineups. Devontae Parker, 7 targets, 6 catches, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jacoby Myers, 32 yards on 7 targets, caught 3 of them with a touchdown. For Buffalo, Diggs returned to normal, which is even more impressive to say because this team had most of their weapons going for them, and they still needed 2 kick returns to really make this. They needed to win it, really. I mean, it was a normal pass game. This is what you want from them. Allen had a couple mistakes, but he was extremely solid. The 2 kickoff returns was, like I said, the backbone for this win. It was a treat to see Nyheim Hines do things that were positive. Props to him. Josh Allen, 19 for 31, 254 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. James Cook, 45 yards, 9 carries, had 2 catches for 6 yards as well. He was the leading rusher. Diggs, 10 targets, 7 catches, 104 yards, and a touchdown, including a 49-yard bomb to really lock the game in. That was in the fourth. Gabriel Davis had 10 targets, caught 3 of them for 39 yards. Be patient with it. I mean, 10 targets to both of those guys, and if he has 7 of them, there's big ups for Gabriel Davis there. The return of not Sean. Sean's nowhere on this piece of paper. What did I just say? The return. Yeah, no, the Sean John Brown. It is John Brown. A random a random John Brown sighting.
Yeah.
1 catch from, I think he put on a uniform to start the game. It might have happened in the second quarter. But he eventually made his way onto the field, 42 yards on a touchdown. The Bills, they're second. They will take on the Dolphins this week. Again, the Dolphins without Skylar Thompson. I don't think you should overthink this one. The Bills should win that game. It's actually kind of a shame they don't have Tua because each team's 1-1 against each other. So would have been much more interesting with Tua. But alas, that's not how it works. Anything else you want to say about this one? Because
It was a mixed bag of emotions this game. I thought they had a chance, and then Buffalo got another punt return. But yeah, no, it was good to see the Pats end on a bit of a high note here. Yeah, couldn't really ask for too much more other than a win, obviously, but still. The Bills are a good team. They played them decently.
Yeah, that could have been a lot worse for your Patriots. And I think, like I said, I think there's a lot of positives to take out of that going into the offseason.
Yeah.
For them, so
I called the over though.
Oh yeah, that was. It got to like the beginning of the second. And I'm like, this game is gonna fly past 42.
Yeah.
That's gonna end part 1. We will come back for part 2. We're gonna just real quickly go through the rest of the results. Again, nothing crazy. We're gonna play an episode of 4 Downs. We'll do a quick playoff preview, and then we will do our parlays and out of here. Taylor, do us a favor. Do 19 jumping jack.
It's too late. Can't be doing that right now.
All right.
Got
Well, if you can't,
the baby's sleeping. For all I know,
Yeah.
my wife fell asleep on the couch.
Yeah. All right. So if you can't, I'll meet you in the middle. If you can't do that, please sign us off.
See y'all on the flip.
Welcome back. It is part 2 of episode 36 of the Fantasy Flyer. I just did my parlays for the host to be host, which we are now going to do 3 times until our Super Bowl finale, and then we can crown a champion. A lot of points in the line. I just realized that. Next 3 weeks, it's gonna get juicy. Real quick, we'll go through the rest of the results in an express lane fashion. I'm not going to talk too much about these because, again, most of these didn't matter. Chiefs won over the Raiders 31-13. Broncos beat the Chargers 31-28. It's probably important to note Brandon Staley is getting some heat for playing everybody in a game that didn't matter. Mike Williams is, I believe, questionable this week, but he's
Yeah, it seems very unlikely that
he's going to play.
I shouldn't say very. It seems like they are underplaying how bad it is.
Yeah, well, they kind of have to because he done screwed up.
Mm.
Panthers beat the Saints 10-7 in a game that had zero highlights until the kick that ended the game, that won the game for the Panthers. Texans beat the Colts 32-31 in a game that technically cost the Texans the first pick, excuse me, of the first round. I don't think that's as big of. I mean, it's a big deal because you don't have everybody to choose from. You're gonna have one person coming up, but for who they're looking for, it's not like they can take two players. So it's not. And honestly, if I'm not mistaken, they were 1-11-1 at one point, and they finished the season 4-13-1, 4-12-1.
Not, yeah, you had it right.
What?
4-13
4-12-1?
or sorry, 3-13-1.
3-13-1? Okay, so they won two of their last four games.
Yeah.
Good for them. Good for them. And the other two games that they lost, one was to the Chiefs in overtime. I remember that one. They almost beat the Cowboys. Like this, actually, they could have won 6 games. Like that's the scary part. Falcons beat the Buccaneers 30-17. If that shocks you, Tom Brady played one drive and then stopped, and it was all Blaine Gabbert. Russell Gage
A little
was
bit of Trask.
A little bit of Trask. Russell Gage was the main benefactor. Mike Evans, I think, left with an injury. I don't know if he came back. Chris Godwin had a few targets in there as well.
So it actually said it was an illness, which is odd. I don't know if, yeah. Sometimes I don't know if I
Odd
should.
mid-game.
Yeah, whether I should
I feel like they were
trust that information.
I feel like they were covering so that they can make sure that he plays this weekend or something.
Yeah.
It is odd. Vikings beat the Bears 29-13 in another game that ended up being Nathaniel Peterman versus who's their backup? I should know it.
Mullins,
Nick
right?
Mullins, that's right. Ugly.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. The Cowboys started the postseason 1 week early. They got blown out 26-6 in another game that really didn't matter. The 49ers weren't losing to the Cardinals, and even if they were, the Eagles probably weren't losing to the third string Giants. Oh, but they almost did. 22-16, the Eagles won. Jalen Hurts was the only quarterback in this game, right? For the Eagles.
Yeah, I believe so.
So they just played bad enough in the last frame that they let the Giants almost come back on them, and they let Kenny Golladay score a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, Hurts.
If you want to feel really bad, Eagles fans, you are literally the only team to allow a touchdown to Kenny Golladay this season. So that's good. You should take that one. You can be first in the NFC, and you can be the first to allow a Kenny Golladay touchdown.
Yeah. Yeah, Hurts. I mean, I think it was the right play to get him some reps. I don't know about the whole game. He had no touchdowns, one interception, 229 yards is but also not a lot of yards on the ground, which that I understand.
Yeah, there's they were in the same position as Dallas though. You don't like San Francisco's not losing to Arizona. Arizona's just so bad. And they didn't. They won 38-13. The only other game that I haven't talked about yet is the Bengals Ravens. Bengals won 27-16. Oh, shocker. They will play again this weekend. They will face off for a playoff position in the wild card round. So those are the rest of the games. Again, none of them really. The 49ers was the nice, it split everything nice and evenly because if the Cardinals had beat the 49ers, then we just knew we would have been in for a hell of an offseason. Well, a hell of a postseason, I should say. Real quick, we're gonna do a game of 4 downs. We put it here for a reason. It's technically as of this moment in the fantasy flyer timeline, we are exactly at the end of the regular season. We have talked about every game in some capacity that has happened through the regular season. I think there's only a couple. I think there's one episode we missed that was a review show, but for the most part, we've talked about every game. We've talked about all the teams. Right now, we are right at the point where we will, from here forward, it's all playoff talk. So right now is a good time to do the 4 downs. So do you want to go first? Do you want me to go second?
Yeah, I can kick it off.
I just asked the same question twice. Do you want
You
to
know
go
what?
first? Or do you want me to go second?
I honestly did not pick it up, but yeah, I'll go first. Mine's, I don't want to say easy, but it's pretty straightforward, and I will caveat it with I do not believe that all of these scenarios will happen, but they are ones that I think there's some possibility, and wanted to put them in the 4 downs to just bring up the discussion around them. So it's literally all just wild card matchups and who beats who. Down
Okay.
number 1, Jags beat the Chargers.
Okay.
Down number 2, Giants beat the Vikings. Down
Okay.
number 3, and remember this caveat, I have nothing against your Cowboys. Bucks beat the Cowboys.
Okay.
And down number 4, Seahawks beat the 49ers.
Okay, so my least likely is the Seahawks beating the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
My next least likely is the Jaguars beating the Chargers.
Okay.
My second least likely, or should I say the second most likely, is probably the best way to put it. Buccaneers over the Cowboys. And my most likely is Giants over Vikings.
Okay.
I don't like, I'm telling you, man, I don't like where the Vikings have been the last 4 weeks. I don't like it. I don't like where the Cowboys have been either, but that's why I put your second. And I don't hate what, like I've said it since like week, I don't know, 10, 11, when the Cowboys were officially got a playoff spot, where I was like, oh, that's great. Season's over. That's as far as you're going to go.
Yeah.
And I don't expect, if we're sitting here next week talking about the Cowboys and Buccaneers game and the Cowboys are still in it, I officially have no experience on what they'll do. None. I was 3 years old the last time they were relevant in the playoffs.
Damn.
I didn't even know how to spell football. So yeah, it's been a long time. I don't know. As far as the other two, the Jaguars and the Chargers is tough.
Yeah.
If the Jaguars take a step forward and the Chargers slip, maybe, but the Chargers have looked really good the last 3 or 4 weeks. The exact opposite of what I see at the Vikings. Which is why I put the difference between 1 and 3. The Seahawks beating the 49ers, the way Gino has been playing, again, using the 4-week, the same 4-week model, he's been on a slide. Like,
yeah.
I'm talking like a Coolio slide, slippity slide. Because it's not looking great for him, and he can't do that. Like we mentioned it earlier in the show, Trevor Lawrence, Geno Smith, not impressive games going into the playoffs. Does that mean anything? No, but the pressure's on now. So those are my takes on those. Good 4 downs. My turn. Juicy ones. Unless there's anything you want to add about mine. Did you like? Usually you give some sort of an opinion, so I suppose I should leave the floor.
No, it was all, yeah, I pretty much in line. The Jags beating the Chargers, I might have a little higher, but honestly, besides the Seahawks beating the 49ers, which I don't see, the other 3, toss them around however you want.
It's a rather tough one in that, as far as ordering them.
Yeah.
All right, my 4 downs. I can't wait till we have a button for these. I'm gonna get a button just in case you didn't know. I'm gonna get a button for all the downs and for the. It's gonna happen. It's just gonna be the way it is. Down number 1. The Seahawks cover the spread versus the 49ers, which is currently at 9.5 points. They are dogs by 9.5 points. Down number 2. The Giants win their wild card matchup in advance. So same one that you had. The Giants beat the Vikings. Down number 3. Trevor Lawrence has more passing yards than Justin Herbert, and Jacksonville wins. Down number 4. Dak does not throw an interception versus Tampa Bay. For those of you who are listening and didn't know this, Dak has thrown an interception in 7 straight games.
Yeah. Not a great stat for him. So, least likely. I'm gonna go with Dak does not throw an interception as least likely. Followed by oof.
A few moments later.
All right, so I'm gonna sandwich this. So least likely, Dak does not throw an interception. Most likely, Seattle covers the spread. Now I got to figure out the middle two here.
Okay.
I will go second most likely. Oof, I keep going back and forth. I'll go second most likely the Giants win, and then third most likely or second least likely Lawrence has more passing yards than Herbert and Jags win. But honestly, 2 and 3 are like neck and neck for me.
So you kind of have them in the order that I listed them.
Yes, I do.
Okay, just making sure. I didn't
They're
intend
they're
that,
in the exact order that you've listed them.
but I don't hate it. I don't hate that. I don't hate that opinion on it. I don't. I didn't even intend that, but that kind of makes because I look at that and I'm like, yeah, that's about how it is. Dak
Yeah,
has to, if Dak
I
doesn't throw an
mean,
interception, I'll be so surprised.
I'm pretty disappointed in Dak because and I don't know historical stats on Dak, but I do not remember him being this interception happy or having this amount of interceptions. This is like not what I remember from Dak.
Yeah.
But that has been the trend lately. I don't know what's up. So yeah, I don't see how he really, unfortunately, gets away from that. The spread with the Niners is massive, and Seattle can put up points. Granted, Geno's been a little iffy lately, but I like my underdogs. I'm gonna put my foot down and give him some benefit of the
Give him a little
doubt.
love.
Yeah, give him a
Yeah.
little love. And to your point, Vikings have been shaky as well, so I can see the Giants doing it. And then unfortunately, Lawrence kind of ended on a bad note. I honestly, the Jags winning is if they played better last week, I would be much higher on that than I am right now. Week 17, I was much higher on it.
I think I would be too. If he played
Yeah,
better, I think that for yours the same way the other way around. I think I would put that. That would make me move them up, beating the Chargers.
right. Good stuff.
Indeed, very good stuff. Real quick, we're gonna go over the DFS results from last episode. I won. There we go. Both my lineups beat both of Taylor's.
Yes.
This is Zach Moss was a home run. Christian Kirk was a home run. Tyquan Thornton was not. I actually had a goose egg from Romeo Dobbs and still scored the most points with that lineup.
By
So
20.
yeah, by 20. I could have had that. Actually, here's the sad part. If I use that money appropriately, I'm actually in the top 100 for that entire tournament on DK.
Yeah. Yeah,
So that's
honestly,
aggravating.
if I didn't like try to spread players too much and kind of like stuck with the analysis we provided, and went with like Mitchell and Moss, which I had other lineups like that, but not for the ones that we provided. Mitchell and Moss was a pretty solid play, value
Oh yeah.
wise.
Oh yeah.
And then Christian Watson, like he didn't go ham, but he did really well. I think we both had him in each one of our couple lineups.
Which one? I'm sorry, you cut out.
Christian Watson.
I did not have him on any of mine. I should have taken. He was more
Okay.
expensive, so I'm trying to think of if there's who else was $4,400 that would make a difference because that's how much it was for I don't know. Dobbs was more than that, but somewhere in the mid fours. That was Watson was 5,600.
Yeah.
There wasn't really a lot of. Wow, I hate my life. This guy had Corey Davis who gave him 2.7 and 9.46 Jalen Hurts, and he won $10. I won 50 cents. Get out of here. That's just so
Yeah.
disgusting.
Honestly, the quarterbacks is like really what hurt us. And then
Yeah.
you had, I think, better wide receiver play overall. I didn't
Yep.
have any, like, I mean, Lamb was okay, but that between both of my lineups, my wide receivers were crap. Lamb was the
Yeah.
best. Yeah, Corey
Alexander
Davis,
Madison.
Justin Jefferson, crap.
Madison was 5,100.
Okay. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Christian Watson did well for me, but yeah, basically, yeah, I just kind of spread my love between the lineups a little too much and should have gone with my gut on one and then kind of got fancy on the other one.
Is what it is. DFS is a fickle beast.
Yeah.
Most betting is. Um, this is the first week since week. This is the first week since week 14. I didn't win any money on FanDuel for sportsbook. Which sounds horrible, but you have to kind of expect it. Week 18 is such a curveball.
Hmm.
Like you could own like it wasn't until like 10:30 Sunday morning where I realized that Alexander Madison will probably end up playing a lot, and he ended up getting 2 touchdowns.
Right.
And there was a lot of touchdown parlays that I should have put in using common sense that this is going to be the second running back. You're going to see, using all the stuff that we talked about going into the DFS lineups, and it just didn't translate between the two. So it's my fault. It is what it is. It's another fickle beast. I can't walk out of there with $100 every single time. Sorry, dog started again to stop. All right, let's real quick go over the playoff schedule. We'll do a quick preview for these games. Game 1 on Saturday, Seahawks and 49ers. It'll be at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Seattle leads the series, the lifetime series, 30-19 over San Francisco. I don't think that is going to go up. Like I said, Seahawks 9.5-point dogs right now as of last check. That will change between now and Saturday. Being that it is Wednesday night at 10:30. Any injury, anything like that, it'll probably go up or down a point or two. I mean, we've mentioned it, I don't know, 4 times in the show. Like, can Seattle be more concise? Lockett, Metcalf, they're good. Noah Fant, Colby Parkinson, they're also pretty good. Kenneth Walker is showing his stripes, although San Francisco is the #1 rush defense.
Hmm.
They were the #1 defense on the year by points allowed. They are. I mean, that's the thing. If the defense slides on Seattle and the pressure is on Brock Purdy to perform, can he do it? You have to almost turn the tides there.
Hmm.
I like the 49ers in this matchup. I don't hate the idea of it being a barn burner, being very close, being down to the wire almost. If you are aligning the Seahawks with more defensive pressure, I would be smart. The rough part for Seattle is they just lost Jordan Brooks for the year, who is a very, very important key to basically midfield and outside wide receiver play. Very good. I believe he's a linebacker, right? I didn't even look. I think he's linebacker. But he has a torn Achilles, I believe it was. So, what can you do if you are Seattle? It's a very good O line for the 49ers. They're bad. Seattle's bad versus tight ends. They're bad versus. Well, they're not bad. They're below average versus running backs. Debo will be back for the 49ers. You will have Bayou. You will have CMC. You will have George Kittle. I have a lot of trust in Brock Purdy in this scenario.
Yeah, I mean, he's shown
How
us
could
a
you
lot,
not, right?
right? Yeah, honestly, the only thing that gives me any hesitation is he's a rookie and it's the playoffs. But honestly, it's not that much. Like that's just, experience and butterflies, whatever. But
Yeah.
this kid's played what, 5 games, 4 games? He's been pretty solid. I think he's got a nice momentum here, and yeah, I think until they get deeper into the playoffs, I don't really see, you know, the butterflies and experience becoming an issue.
Yeah, he's already played this team once, if I'm not
Right.
mistaken. So, Chargers and Jaguars will finish up the Saturday slate. They play 8:15. Chargers lead that series 9-4, 9-4 in the lifetime matchup. We know what the Chargers do. It's Austin Eckler, it's Keenan Allen. If Mike Williams doesn't play, I have a sneaky suspicion that a parlay will involve, not in our host v host parlay, but in some of my parlays, I will be jumping on the Josh Palmer bandwagon.
Mm.
Um, Jaguars need, again, another one of the teams. Here comes the playoffs, and you lay an egg. Not lay an egg, but you know, have a off game versus the Titans. Not as concise as we would like to see. Um, Chargers were 30th this season against the rush. Do they stop Travis Etienne? I don't think so. I don't think this is the guy that it's going to turn around. Will I see him have 100 yards? I don't think so. But as a way to get first downs, Travis Etienne has to be kind of a vehicle for that, in my opinion. I don't know. I think the spread right now is at 2.5 points to the Chargers. I was just looking at it and I didn't happen. I'm trying to go from memory. I'll open up the sports book right now. I like the Chargers in this matchup. Justin Herbert's been here for the most part. He's been under pressure. I mean, it wasn't really under pressure, but he had to perform against the Raiders last year. That was a tight game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was playoffs or if that was week 18, but yeah, Chargers 2.5 point favorites, over under at 47.5 right now. I I just like the Chargers. Again, this is Trevor Lawrence's first time in the playoffs. Doug Peterson has done a lot with teams in the playoffs. We know that. It just, I don't know if you can depend on necessarily this team to come through in the clutch when it's the players who still have to go out there and make the plays. I like the Chargers in this one. Just my take on it. You don't have to go over who you like, because as we get to the parlay builder, I know who you like. So
Yeah, I mean, but spoiler, Chargers. I agree.
yeah, it's not really. There's really the Jaguars can keep this game close, and this Vegas thinks so too. So I wouldn't, if there's a mistake at the wrong time, Jaguars can win this.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be
This
surprised if Jaguars pull out a win here, but yeah, I'm just
is
I
one of the.
like
Go ahead.
I favor the Chargers. They have Keenan Allen back, and that was a huge part of what was missing when they had their bad weeks.
Yeah, and he's been good since he came back too.
Yeah.
He hasn't been a slouch at all.
And
He
Austin
had that
Eckler
one.
is on fire.
Yeah, they both have been. I mean, just what you need to during the playoffs get hot at the right time.
Yeah.
This is one of 3 games that, in my opinion, you could see upsets out of.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just keep that. Next game, Dolphins. This is the first game on Sunday. Bills and Dolphins in Buffalo. Miami is leading the series between the two all time, 62 to 55 to 1. There's one tie, 55 losses. Miami 62 wins. Just realize how backwards that is. Miami is won 62 times. Buffalo's won 55. I guess it's not Buffalo current 13.5 point favorites, over under at 43.5. Yeah, we'll skip over this game for the most part, because again, I think without Tua making a miraculous concussion clearing protocol deal, this game is pretty much over for the Dolphins. So come back, see you again next year. Vikings and Giants. Next one in Minnesota. This is the 4:25 game on Sunday. Minnesota leads the all-time series 18-12. These two teams played in week 14. I believe I have that correct. The Vikings needed a Greg Joseph 61-yarder to win the game. The Giants have been looking a lot better the last few weeks than the Vikings. This is another one of the games where could go either way. I am taking the Giants in this one. I know, are taking the Vikings based on that same line. Neither are bad guesses. It's just I mean, Kirk Cousins needed to throw the lights out to keep him in that game for the most part. So I see that if the Giants are going to play this well, they're resting more people than the Vikings were.
Yeah.
Most of the Vikings players played a half of football this past weekend. The Giants didn't. So um it's currently Vikings are 3-point favorites over under at 48.5. Any
That's exactly how much they won by. It was week 16.
16? Oh wow, it was even more sooner than that.
Yeah, no, the last bye was week 14. So yeah, week 16, and then yeah, the final score was 27-24 Vikings. So yeah, it should be a good matchup. And to your point, Giants are a little fresher with that rest.
Yeah, it should be a little closer, I think, than that. I mean, that game wasn't close until the Giants made it close in the fourth. So next game, Bengals Ravens, the Sunday night football game at 8:15. Baltimore leads the series, the all-time series, 28-26 versus the Bengals, but they are likely not going to have Lamar Jackson. It's not looking good for Tyler Huntley. That means Anthony Brown will have to be their third string quarterback, will have to hold the reins in a very important wild card game. I don't like that. I think the Bengals have this one. Currently, they are 8.5-point favorites. They just beat. This is, like I said, this is a rematch from the game 4 days ago on Sunday, and they won by 11. The Bengals did, and that was without playing. I mean, it won by 11. They didn't score the last frame. It was 27-9, if I'm not mistaken, or 27-10. So I take Bengals in this one again. This is one of the games. Don't overthink it.
The final score, 27-16.
Right, but it was 27-10, I think, in the fourth. And the Ravens scored 2 field goals to make it 27-16.
27-13 in the fourth.
Oh, well, they didn't score in the fourth though. But I know the last 2 scores were Baltimore and they were field goals. So
yes, yeah,
that means that Cincinnati didn't score for the last over quarter. They
right.
still won by 11. So
yeah, they had 24 points in the first half.
yeah, there's not a lot to. Don't think about it too much.
No.
Last game, Monday Night Football, Buccaneers and Dallas. Currently, Dallas is 2.5-point favorites. In Tampa Bay. 8:15 Monday Night Football game. Dallas leads the all-time series 15-6. Again, I'll say it again. This is the Cowboys in the playoffs. Now, they should be very angry. They just got blown out by an undermanned rookie quarterback from Washington. And I would hope that would fuel you. Even Jerry Jones was like, well, they're either going to step up or they're not. Like this is what they're made of. Basically, is like how they're going to respond is what they're made of. Mike Parsons was left off the All-Pro NFL team. He's a little angry about that as of this afternoon. So there's some Dak Prescott's getting pressure for throwing the ball to everyone but a Cowboys player. Like everything is saying that Dallas should come out and win this game, and everything in my experience says they won't. So there is the interesting note that their win pattern this year. Did you notice that?
No.
Have you heard about that? So since week 1 through week 18, they lost week 1, they won weeks 2 and 3. They lost week 4, they won weeks 5 through 8.
Okay.
5 through 9 technically because of the bye week. They lost week 10, they won week 11 and 12. They lost week 13, they won until week 18, and they lost in week 18. So in other words, they've won 1 or lost 1, won 2, lost 1, won 4, lost 1, won 2, lost 1, won 4, lost 1, won 2. In other words, they're due to win 4, is according to the pattern. So now all the theorists are out there going, if they win 4 in a row, they win the Super Bowl.
Right.
Calm down. This is still the Cowboys we're talking about. And also to make a note on this, Hank Hill, what do you think about the Cowboys?
Dallas? I don't want you going to Dallas at all. That place is crawling with crackheads and debutantes, and half of them play for the Cowboys.
There you go. So, Hank Hill's thoughts on the Cowboys. I don't know what to think of this game. I want to say that Tom Brady won't do what Tom Brady does, but Tom Brady does what he does in the playoffs more than any other time. So,
Mhm.
and Dak has no more amount of pressure on his shoulder this week than in any other week. So, yeah, we'll just leave that there, I guess. The final segment of our show, we got about 7.5 minutes left. We'll go through our host v host parlays. Real simple rules. You can create a parlay, as many parlays as you want. It looks like I have done 3, Taylor has done 2. For every leg of the parlay, it is worth 10 host v host fantasy points. If you miss any leg of it, you don't get any points. If you hit them all, you get 10 points per leg. Very straightforward. You want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So my first parlay, Buffalo wins, Buffalo money line, Cincinnati money line, probably 2 lock games, I would imagine. CD Lamb goes over 50 yards, Travis Etienne goes over 40 rush yards, and Austin Eckler has a touchdown anytime. 5 legs, very easy. Next one, George Kittle, touchdown anytime. Seattle's 31st against tight ends. I'm hoping that still works even with Debo back. Next leg, Justin Jefferson is over 70 receiving yards. Jalen Waddle is under 70 receiving yards. The Seahawks cover their 9.5 point spread. I'm going to stick to that 9.5, even if it changes, just FYI. So whether it goes to 10.5 or 8.5, I'm sticking at 9.5. So I think that's only fair. Diggs goes over 50 receiving yards, and Dallas and Tampa Bay go over 40.5 points total for the game. So I'm taking the over on that game. That is a 7 leg, I believe. Did I got that right? I did not. That is a 6 leg. My last parlay, Christian McCaffrey over 70 total yards from scrimmage. Justin Herbert over 250 passing yards. Ken Walker over 50 yards, rush yards. 3. So I have a 5 leg, a 6 leg, and a 3 leg for a grand total on the line of 140 host v host points.
Hot damn.
Yes. I am currently leading real quick. Give you the, I'll do this because I don't think I probably should have brought this up before we started, but I am leading 239 to 192. So I have
Okay.
30 and I have 47 points to play with.
Okay.
So, Taylor, your turn.
First off, I don't recommend the way that I've laid out these parlays, but here we go.
I do it every week, and it could be way worse, believe it or not.
Yeah. So I literally just went with a money lines for all of the matchups. So Buffalo, Cincinnati, Chargers, San Francisco, Minnesota, and Dallas. All those teams winning. And then so that's a 6 leg parlay. And then this one I literally just looked up. I mean, we've been talking about it all season, but I just kind of went based off of, this team's bad against the rush, this team's bad against receiving, this team's bad against tight ends, and just kind of found some stuff I like there. And then I clumped it all together, which, like I said, don't necessarily recommend clumping it together like this, but here we go. CMC, anytime touchdown. CMC over 60 yards. The line is 74.5. So that feels relatively safe to me. ETN over 60 yards. His line is 78.5. And like I said,
total yards or rush yards?
Sorry, yes, rush yards. I did specify receiving, but I did not specify rush for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, CMC against Seattle. Great running matchup. ETN against Chargers, also a pretty decent running matchup. And then Isaiah Hodgins. This one's a little sneaky, although it's not that difficult. I have him over 40 receiving yards. His line is 43.5. He is against the Vikings, who have been letting up a lot of receiving yards. And I kind of feel like Hodgins is becoming DJ's not go-to, but maybe.
Your turn's not Kenny Galladay.
Yeah. Just they were waiting for the playoffs. Chris Godwin over 60 receiving yards. His line is 65.5. Tampa Bay against Dallas, as we talked about, and Dallas has been sort of not actually, they've been leaking rushing yards, but they're actually not as highly ranked against receiving as I thought. And then finally, Kittle over 42.5 receiving yards and Dawson Knox anytime touchdown. So that's like a 8. No, that's a 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 7.
7. Wow. In between those numbers.
Count the plus signs and add 1. That's how I do that.
There we go.
No, really good. I mean, you have 130 points on 2 different ones. So you have an equal and I like the money lines. This is where money lines can pay off because you have, especially when you start getting down to the injuries and things. You know, like I said, 2 or 3 of those 6 games on your money line, one could go either way.
Right.
Those will be the toss ups, but that could be worth 60 fantasy or 60 host points. I think one of your, if for the most part, if your second one hits, my first one or my second one will probably hit. So there's a little layover there between CMC and
right, Kittle
and ATN's in there too.
Yeah.
So interesting, but each one of those will be for 10. We'll go over those next Wednesday or Thursday. I think we're filming Wednesday. It'll probably go back up again next Thursday. This video is going to go out on the 12th. Roughly dinner time, maybe a hair afterwards. We will have, that's okay. We'll have this video posted. Other than that, I think that's going to do it for episode 36. Only a couple more standard episodes left. I've started doing some planning for the postseason and the pre-draft. There's some new things coming. I'm happy about it. I know Taylor is kind of along for the ride most of the time, but I kind of just let Taylor know things are happening, and he's like, "Sounds good to me." Yeah, Taylor, any final thoughts from you as we go into week 1 of the NFL playoffs?
No, just really excited for some playoff football, and it's almost a sigh of relief that my Pats are not in it because then I don't have to get all pissed off when they play terribly.
See now, and I have to deal with another Cowboys inevitably tanking at some point in this, and it's just even more painful. But that'll do it. Watch some good football. Again, 1 game at a time, Saturday afternoon through Monday night. Enjoy it. Sit down with some popcorn, do some fun things. This has been episode 36. I'm Derek. That's Taylor. As always, we're signing off with Bob Barker, and we'll see you all next week. Enjoy.
Bob Barker reminding you, help control the pet population. Have your pet spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.